When you walk into a Burlington, you're walking into amazing prices and great styles. That's main character energy. Because at Burlington, the wow deals aren't the only thing turning heads. Find fashion, the best brands, new trends, and so much more for every room in your house. Go ahead, you deserve these deals. But seriously, with these savings, why shop anywhere else?
Burlington deals, brands, wow.
If you've ever felt utterly drained because every time someone around you is angry, sad, or upset, it's somehow your fault, this episode is for you. That bone-deep exhaustion that comes from being the designated emotional dumping ground isn't about you being too sensitive or causing problems. It's about a toxic system that systematically shifts emotional responsibility onto your shoulders to avoid accountability and maintain control. Welcome back to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Lynn, your host. Today, we're diving into one of the most draining dynamics scapegoats face, being blamed for everyone else's emotions, and why this pattern leaves you feeling like you're constantly walking through emotional quicksand. When we talk about being blamed for other people's emotions, we're not talking about healthy accountability, where someone might say, when you did X, I felt hurt. We're talking about a pattern where your mere existence seems to trigger everyone's bad moods, and somehow that's always positioned as your fault. This dynamic serves a very specific purpose in narcissistic family systems and relationships. The person who scapegoats you has discovered that emotions can be weaponized. By making you responsible for how they feel, they never have to examine their own emotional responses or take ownership of their reactions. It's the ultimate deflection strategy. Your natural empathy becomes the tool they use against you. Because you care about people's feelings, you'll scramble to fix whatever you supposedly did wrong. You'll apologize for things that aren't your fault. You'll change your behavior, tone down your needs, or shrink yourself, trying to prevent the next emotional explosion that will inevitably be blamed on you. This isn't random assignment. You weren't chosen to be the family or relationship's emotional scapegoat because you actually cause problems. You were chosen because you respond to it, because you have empathy, because you'll accept responsibility even when it's not yours to take. The exhaustion comes from carrying a burden that was never meant to be carried by one person. You're essentially functioning as an emotional shock absorber for people who refuse to develop their own emotional regulation skills. Every bad day at work, every disappointment, every frustration somehow becomes your problem to solve or your fault to carry. You might have experienced this when a parent came home angry about something completely unrelated to you, but suddenly the way you said hello or the fact that you left a dish in the sink becomes the reason they're upset. Or when your partner's anxiety about their own life choices gets redirected at you because you asked how their day went. The gaslighting component here is particularly brutal. When you're repeatedly told that you caused someone's emotional state, you start believing it. You begin to see yourself as someone who hurts people just by existing naturally. Your boundaries become sources of shame because they've been labeled as the cause of other people's pain. What makes this especially confusing is the inconsistency. The same behavior that gets you blamed for someone's anger one day might be completely ignored the next. That's because the blame was never really about what you did. It was about needing someone to hold responsible for feelings they don't want to process themselves. In healthy relationships, people take ownership of their emotional responses. They might be triggered by something you do, but they recognize that their reaction is their responsibility to manage. They don't make you the custodian of their feelings or hold you accountable for their internal emotional state. But in these dysfunctional systems, emotional responsibility flows in only one direction, toward you. Everyone else gets to have their feelings without consequence, while you're held accountable not just for your own emotions, but for managing theirs too. It's an impossible standard designed to keep you failing and focused on their needs instead of your own. The physical toll of this constant emotional hypervigilance is real. Your nervous system stays activated, always scanning for signs that someone's mood is shifting and might be directed at you. You develop an exhausting hyper-awareness of everyone else's emotional temperature while completely neglecting your own emotional needs. Here's what's crucial to understand. You are never actually responsible for managing other people's emotions. The fact that you were assigned this impossible job says nothing about your character and everything about a system designed to protect people who won't do their own emotional work. When someone blames you for their feelings, they're essentially claiming they have no control over their own emotional responses. They're saying that you're so powerful you can control their internal state, but somehow you should also be able to prevent it. The logic doesn't work because it was never about logic. It was about avoiding responsibility. The truth is that emotionally healthy people don't hold others responsible for their feelings. They might communicate about how someone's actions affected them, but they don't make other people the managers of their emotional world. That's a job that belongs to each individual adult. Your exhaustion isn't weakness or oversensitivity. It's the natural result of carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. You've been functioning as an unpaid emotional labor force for people who should be managing their own feelings, and that would drain anyone. The people who consistently blame you for their emotions aren't more emotionally sensitive than others. They're emotionally irresponsible. They've learned that they can outsource their emotional regulation to you, and as long as you accept that role, they never have to develop those skills themselves. Breaking free from this pattern starts with recognizing that someone else's emotional state is not your job to manage, prevent, or fix. Their feelings are information about their internal world, not assignments for your to-do list. Here's something to reflect on. When were you last blamed for someone else's emotion? What does that reveal about who holds real power in your family or relationship? Notice how the blame always seems to flow toward the person with less power in the dynamic. Thanks for being here today. If you're trying to make sense of what's been happening in your relationship, or trying to put your finger on behaviors that just don't sit right, know that you're not alone. What you're experiencing is real, and understanding it is the first step toward reclaiming your life. There are 2 books that might help you on this journey. The first is Master Manipulators. Discover Covert Tactics. Narcissists devise to manipulate, deceive, and control. This book blows the lid off emotional abuse, detailing 33 tactics narcissists use to gain supply, the cycle of abuse, and how to detect these patterns in a clear fashion. It's validation. It's empowerment. It's about helping you see what's been hidden, so you can make the best decisions for your situation. The second book is Overcoming the Devastation of Narcissistic Abuse: How to Heal, Recover, and Take Your Life Back. This one walks you through 15 tactics narcissists use, 15 plus steps to heal on the journey, the 7 stages of grief in recovering from narcissistic abuse, and how to move forward with hope. You can find both books on our website at movingforwardafterabuse.com, along with additional resources. If you're finding value in these episodes, we also have ad-free versions and bonus content over on Supercast at narcissisticabuserecovery.supercast.com. This is Lynn, and this has been another episode of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'll see you in the next one. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please seek help from a qualified professional or contact a local crisis hotline.
It's last call for football on FanDuel, with one last round of rewards every day through Super Bowl 60. One last week for one more chance. Visit the FanDuel app all week long for limited time boost every day until football runs out. FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 60.
New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.